Hi everyone, welcome back to another Stitches and Scribbles podcast. My name is Erin and I have lots of stuff to show to you today. Starting with a finished object. I only have one finished object for this week because I spent like the entire week on this. It's actually from my video that I posted on Wednesday. So if you already watched that, this will look familiar, but it is my massive Taylor Swift scarf. I picked one color for each album and then used the linen stitch to make each stripe. It was supposed to be a rectangular shawl, but I made it too narrow with my starting number of stitches, and then the stripes were too long, so in order to fit all 9 albums on it, it ended up quite long. I really love the yarn that I used for this. It was mostly the True Boo yarn by Lion Brand, although my brown stripe at the end is the New Boo line instead. I love this yarn for how silky soft it is. It's also very heavy, so I found that when I was wearing this as a scarf, it almost had like a weighted blanket effect to it, which was really nice. I really enjoyed working on that project and listening to all of the albums. It was a really interesting process to like really slow down and listen to music and let it inspire a crochet project. So if you have any suggestions for other artists I could do that with, leave them down below. The only one so far that I'm thinking about doing is Paramore. I'm kind of like similar to Taylor Swift. That's an artist that was around when I was in like middle school to high school, and I know a couple of her really popular songs, but I've never listened to the albums all the way through. But she only has 4 albums, which means that I can make a much smaller project like a hat or something I think would work well. So let me know if you have any artists that you think I should do a similar style video with, because I love doing that project and getting a chance to listen to some new music. Speaking of what I was working on, that does mean that I did not make a lot of progress on my whips that I had, although I do have a couple to show you. So if you watched the last episode, you've seen this shawl already, or last couple episodes. It is my scrap shawl. I probably only did about 2 rows on this week. I still have quite a bit of the blue yarn left, but slowly but surely it's getting finished. I'll have to like take it on a road trip or something with me so that I finish it, or not a road trip, but like my next significantly long car ride where I'm not the one driving, which is usually like going to visit relatives in another state or going to the Renaissance Fair, things like that. So hopefully this will be done in the next couple weeks so that I can finally get it out of my whip bin and so that it's not taking up space. The other project that I'm almost done with is the baby blanket that I've been working on. So again, if you're somebody who I get gifts for and has a baby on the way, please look away or you will get some spoilers. You can come back in like a minute or so. But it is this one. I am almost done. I'm on my 3rd skein of the Bernat baby blanket. This is a huge blanket. It's probably at least 3 feet wide, and I'm going to try to make it a square, so it's really more of a like toddler sized blanket, but I thought it would be good as a blanket to like drape over a car seat and stuff like that, so the bigger size might be helpful. Also to like put on the floor if you don't have a play mat, maybe. I don't know if that would be safe or not, but I figured the bigger size would at least be something different, so I'm really excited to get that done and finished so that I can send it off to the parents of the baby who's about to be born. My next whip is one that looks done, but I'm thinking I want to add to it. I made a shawl following the Gelato Shop shawl directions from, I believe it was from Fiberflux that posted it, but it's basically a C2C triangle that you just wear as a shawl. So not really a new pattern, it really is just half of a C2C square. So it looks like this with a point at the end. This is pretty much done, but I'm concerned it's not quite big enough. But I ran out of yarn, and if you recognize this yarn, it's the Flex yarn from Michaels. It's by Loops and Thread. I don't have another skein of this cream color, but I do have the gray. So I might just add a couple more rows to it using the gray yarn instead, because I think that that'll still look okay. The colors do like blend well together. It wouldn't look unintentional. I just might do like a border around the whole thing in gray at the end so that it looks like I did it on purpose, not like I just ran out of yarn. But this is a prayer shawl actually for a neighbor who's going through some rough health stuff. And my mom asked me to make it. It's actually my parents' neighbor, not my neighbor. So I'm trying to get it done as quickly as possible, which might mean that if I finish it in the next week, it won't even make it into the next podcast episode because I will have already given it away. But I thought I'd show you anyway. If you're looking for a shawl that works up really quickly, the C to C method or corner to corner was really fast. This probably only took me like 2 evenings of crocheting to get it this big, and it is still like a full-sized shawl. So it does sit over the shoulders well and is like big enough to drape, but I like to wear shawls as scarves as well. So I'm debating if I should add more to this because it really does just go over the shoulders. It doesn't go farther down to like cover the elbows or anything, and I personally prefer longer shawls, so I'm thinking that I should add a couple rows to it. But that's enough of that one. I really like making prayer shawls. I have made quite a few in the past, and even if it's somebody who doesn't share the same faith as you or doesn't understand the concept of prayer shawls, they're a nice, like, comforting article of clothing to give somebody for a lot of reasons. A, you don't have to worry about fit because they're shawls. They're pretty much one size fits all. But also it's like a very comforting thing to wear. I kind of think of it as like you're gifting a hug to somebody, especially ones that have like a little bit of weight to them. They're just really nice gifts. So I love that like the concept of giving prayer shawls is a thing. Definitely not something I knew about when I first started crocheting, but I think it like until recently it has been kind of like something that old ladies do, but it's starting to like trickle down into younger generations and become more common. My church even has a prayer shawl ministry that I keep meaning to join but haven't gotten to it yet. I guarantee I'll be the only person under 30 on there, but I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to getting that shawl done so that I can send it off to the lady who needs some prayers and good vibes right now. My other whip you also would have seen last week. It's the gray shawl that I'm working on that will become a written pattern to put in my Etsy shop. I did a couple more rows on this one as well, but not enough that you can like tell that I did anything. I'm like 2 out of 3 rows of the lace stitch on the row I'm working on. This one's almost done. I don't have that much yarn left. I've started making my cake into a donut. So that one should be done pretty soon, and that one is going to a friend who just requested a shawl and let me pick the pattern and everything. She just said she wanted it to be gray. I think that's it for whips, so we can dive into the yarn haul. So this yarn haul is actually from Hobby Lobby, and it's back from when Hobby Lobby was doing their clearance sale, and I know that that has mostly ended by now. There may still be a couple things on clearance, but like for the most part it's been cleared out. But like my previous haul, I hung on to this one so that I could show you in the new podcast format instead of trying to like do it without showing my face on camera and everything. So I have quite a bit of yarn to show you. I'm sliding all my projects out of the way so that I have enough space for this. I really had fun looking at Hobby Lobby. I went with my sister-in-law when I was visiting her down in Missouri. So some of these were purchased in Missouri, some of them were purchased back up here in Wisconsin. She was nice enough to go to Hobby Lobby with me, so I let her pick out some yarn so that she could have a knitted or crocheted object And I'll point that out when I get to it. So some of the yarn that I purchased was on clearance. Not all of it was, because there were some specific things I was looking for anyway. But let's get into it. So first thing I got was 2 of the Yarn Bee Authentic hand-dyed hanks in the color Supernova. When I went, these I believe were from the one in St. Louis. This was the only hand-dyed color that they had marked as clearance, and it was one that I didn't have yet, so I was really excited about it. I love those pops of neon. The base is like a very creamy white, so like only slightly off-white, and it's got pink, yellow, and bright turquoisey blue in there to form kind of a rainbow. I think it just becomes speckles when you knit it up. I don't think it's a self-striping yarn. I think that these color blocks like split up when you actually knit with it, but I got 2 of those. They are normally $15 and they were on sale for $3.74, so pretty good deal for those. The next thing I got, I tried to get most things in pairs, but I know it didn't work for all of them and some of them might be buried. Next thing I got was the Wrapology Hues in the color Petal Showers in Spring. I got 2 of these. They are a light blue, like kind of grayish blue, with flecks of dark blue and green, and I thought there was purple. Yes, a little bit of like lavender purple. These are normally $9 and they were on sale for $2.24. I have used these before to make a shawl. There's a version that's white where the flecks are blue and yellow, so I have that one, or not white, it's like cream color. But I have made a shawl with that before. I really like these because they have a lot of yardage in them. Each one is 524 yards, so even though it's a pretty thin yarn, you do get a lot in it just by getting 2 skeins of it. So very excited to use those. That will probably be shawl tester yarn. Most of the yarn I got because I'm interested in pattern writing for shawls. If it was something that could be made into a shawl, I kind of just went ahead and got it. Even if it isn't a color that I normally would get or something like that, I figured I would need yarn to test shawl patterns, so I just went ahead and got it. In that same vein, I got 2 of the Yarn Bee Rainbow Rhapsodies in the color Ivy League, which look like this. So it's a light blue into like a grayish mint, a dark teal, and a deep gray. These have 918 yards, but they are a very thin, like, #1 yarn. I don't know if you can see how thin that is. So that'll be really interesting. I can probably get a shawl out of each of these cakes because there's so much yardage to it, but I got them in a pair just in case. These were also $8.99 on sale for $2.24. Really like those colors. I love teals and greens, so I thought that those were pretty. The next thing I actually got, looks like 3 of them. I don't think there's any more buried down there. But I got some of the Premier Bloom Chunky, which looks like this. It's normally $3.99 at Hobby Lobby. It was on sale for 99 cents. And the cool thing about this is that when you knit it or crochet it, it makes a little like flowery Fair Isle pattern. So I got 3 of those, and this is the color Cactus Bloom. I'm thinking that this is going to end up as a hat and cowl set, maybe. I'm not sure if I have enough yardage for that. So definitely a cowl, hopefully a cowl and hat set, because I really like these colors. I think that this is like a perfect yarn for when it's technically spring, but it's still really, really cold out, because you could do a bright, colorful hat set and still be nice and warm, but be celebrating the season that it's supposed to be. So very excited to use those. I don't use a ton of chunky yarn anymore. I used to use chunky yarn for a lot of things, but not as much recently. I've been gravitating towards their like really thin yarn cakes. Next thing I actually got 6 of these in 4 different colors, and I'm hoping to use all of them together. But it's the Yarn Bee Color Idol And the first color I got 3 of them in the color Frosty Mint, which is a like very light turquoisey blue. These have 415 yards per skein. They're normally $8.99, on sale for $2.24. Really excited to use these. And then the other 3 I got in like ombre shades. So I got the color Orangeology, the color Power Surge, and the color Neon Watermelon. So I'm hoping to do a project with all 6 of these. I want to make like a kimono style sweater that's mostly the mint color with like ombre of the pinks and oranges at the bottom, if that makes sense. So I don't think I'll have enough time to make it for this summer, but hopefully to be like a cute summer cardigan for next summer. I know that that's thinking really far ahead, but it was on clearance, so I went for it. Next thing I got is another Premier yarn. I got 4 of these in 2 different colorways. This is the Premier Nordica in, what color is this one? This one is in Rose Linen. It's a very like pinkish beige, and like the Bloom yarn, it is a self-patterning yarn, so it makes a Fair design. So it's got some beiges, some pinks, and some creams in it. This one has 546 yards per skein. So I got 2 in that pink and beige color. And I also got 2 in the colorway Harbor Gray. So Harbor Gray looks like this, and this is what the pattern looks like. So smoky grays, blacks, and white. Those might, since they have the pattern to them, instead of being things that I test my patterns on, because those are more likely to be like complex stitches and things, I might make those into prayer shawls to like have on reserve in case somebody needs them. Up next is the Lion Brand Ice Cream yarn. I got 3 of these in the color Pistachio. So it's a minty green, an olive green, and shades of gray and white. This has 394 yards per skein, and I got 3 of them. And these are normally $4.99, and they were on sale for $1.24, so really good deal. I've seen the Ice Cream Brand yarn before and thought about purchasing it, but I never actually have, so that's a new one to me as well. And finally, in here I have the ones that my sister-in-law picked out because she wants a black, like lacy, drapey shawl that can be worn as a scarf as well. So she picked out the Yarn Bee Must Be Merino in black. This one was not on sale, but it's a very pretty, solid black yarn. This one does have, looking for the percentages on it, it's 50% merino wool, 25 acrylic, 25% nylon, and there are 227 yards in each skein, and I got 3 of them. That will probably be an upcoming pattern that will be a paid for pattern on Etsy. I keep talking about all these hypothetical patterns that aren't out yet, but they're all up in my brain and on Google Sheets spreadsheets, like waiting to be formatted and used and everything. So she picked those out to get a shawl made out of them, so that'll be fun to play with. That is all the yarn that I got from Hobby Lobby. I don't think I have any other updates this week. We should have another yarn haul coming up and some more exciting videos. One of the things I'm really excited for the second half of the summer is going to the Renaissance Fair. I live really close to the Bristol Renaissance Fair in Wisconsin, and it's one of my favorite summer activities. I was absolutely devastated last year when it was closed. That was probably the thing I missed most during COVID shutdown, was not being able to go to the Renaissance Fair, because the previous year I actually went 3 times in one summer with a different costume for each. So I'm really, really into going to the Renaissance Fair. It looks like this year I'll be going at least twice, although I have a couple other groups of people who I've offered to go with them and they just haven't picked a date to go yet. So I'm very excited, and I actually want to make a costume piece for one of the times I'm going. All over TikTok, I've been seeing people make corset-inspired tops that they're just wearing as shirts, but I wanted to make one that looks more like an actual corset to wear with a Ren Fair costume. And I wanted to do something very different this year. I usually wear a lot of like all black or black and green or black and purple to Ren Fair. And I realized this year that I have a really pretty pastel green skirt that works for Ren Fair. So I'm going to do more like pastels and neutrals for one of my costumes and do something very Hobbit inspired. So I wanted to create a piece that's like in between a corset and like a vest. So still has like the laces up the front, but crocheted in like a beige cotton yarn. So I think I'm going to make a full video out of that instead of just making it and showing it on the podcast. But I'm really excited. I've never made a costume piece for the Renaissance Fair before, and I think in the past I've always thought that like I can't make my own Ren Fair pieces because I don't know how to sew, but it never occurred to me to try to crochet something. So I'm hoping it won't be too warm to wear it. It should be okay if it's in cotton. It wouldn't end up any warmer than like an actual corset or stays, I'm pretty sure. Maybe. We'll have to see day of. Hopefully it's not one of the like blistering hot days because that might be kind of miserable. But I'm really excited to make that. I think that it would be a cool handmade addition to costume pieces that I already have. And if it goes well, like maybe I can make more in other colors because that's one of the pieces that if you buy it from the Renaissance Fair, it's really, really expensive but made well. But if you get it from like Amazon, they might be cheaper, but the odds of them fitting correctly are a lot lower. So making your own seems like a better way to go if you have the skills to do that. So I'm very excited to try it. Yeah, I think that's it for this podcast. So this one's a little bit shorter than normal, but I had a really long video earlier this week, so it seems a little balanced out. Leave comments below if you have any Ren Fair questions, if you have any questions for me about what I'm planning to make, anything like that. I'd be happy to answer questions either in the next podcast or just in comments below. So I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone.